And I began to study addictions. And now I have my liberal arts in social sciences and addiction studies. I'm sorry, I gotta take my shoes off. I'm actually very short. So I'm in college and I'm doing this stuff. And I'm doing what y'all told me to do. Sit in the front and ask questions. And that's what I did. I sat in the front, I got a whole stack of Kleenex here. I'm gonna need another come up here with that right there. I know I told you not to come back, but since when do you do what I tell you to do? And so I did this whole thing. I'm going to school, I'm doing this, life is changing for me, stuff is happening. Those two kids. At 3 years sober, my parents asked me to step out of my kids' life because they were acting up. And they were acting out because I had showed back up. And man, that was the hardest decision. And I went to my sponsor and I said, they don't want me to see my kids no more. And my sponsor said, Angie, why don't you make a decision that's not based on self? And I called my family back and I said, I'll stay away. But what that meant was I stayed away from my family. But I had to see my kids. If you a parent, you know what I mean. And I would go to my daughter's soccer games, and I would have a hat and sunglasses on, and I would sit way over in the corner. But I would see her. And I would be at my son's baseball games. I had to see her. And the one thing that my sponsor told me, he said, Angie, you get your act together so that when they do return, and I believe that they will, you need to be a productive member of society. And on my daughter's 18th birthday, she called me. And she said, I want to see you. And I went, and I picked my baby up, and we went to the mall, and she spent all my money. She spent every dime I had. And then I realized that I had to be a little more specific in my prayers. That I'd like to see my daughter, but I most certainly would love to have a little change in my pocket. But we went to that mall and I had to get her back. And in that car, she just put her head on my shoulder. See, this is the amazing thing. And when my daughter sat in that car with her head on my shoulder, it was like we'd never been separated. And she said, Angie, you okay? I said, I'm okay. She said, you don't drink no more? I said, no, I don't. She said, I don't want to cause no problems with my family and you. I said, I know. I said, I know. And she said, so if you don't hear from me, it's because I just don't want to rock the boat. I said, I understand. But I was able to clean off my side of the street with my daughter. My daughter attends college in Grambling State, Louisiana. And she calls me on a regular basis. She was there when Katrina hit and she was so scared. We hadn't heard from her for 6 days and we were so scared. And when she called, she said, they're bringing all the other kids to this school, to this college, and I don't know what to do. She said, please say that prayer that you say with me when I call. And I said, I will, Whitney. And the prayer goes like this. God, I offer myself to thee, to build with me and to do with me as thou wilt. Relieve me of the bondage of self so that I may better do thy will. Take away my difficulties. That victory over them may bear witness to those that I would help with thy power, thy love, and thy way of life. See, you gave that to me, and I was able to pass that on to my daughter as a means of strength for her also. She's doing well. She graduates next year. And I'll be speaking in her town that weekend. And that Sunday I get to get up and go to my daughter's graduation. The gifts of Alcoholics Anonymous say God. Oh yeah. And she's dating a white guy. Oh God help me. I don't care who you are. You hear some news like that, you got a little something to say about it. He's a good guy. His name's Jeremy. I think that's the whitest name you could have. His name's Jeremy. When my son would see him, he'd be like, hey, Jeremy, where's Josh and Jake? He's a good guy. He loves my daughter, and that's all that matters. And he treats her like the queen she should be treated like. My son is in prison for quite some time. Thank God for the people that take AA meetings into prisons, where my son goes to meetings. Man, I wanted to go get him. Thank God for the program of Al-Anon, where I wanted to go get my baby out of jail so bad. And my sponsor said, why would you go get him? Did anybody come and get you? Let him go on his journey. Love him enough to let him go on his journey, and that's what I did. So I don't know, y'all, about 3 years ago, I got a phone call, and somebody said, we just heard your tape, and we were wondering if you would speak at the International Convention of Alcoholics Anonymous. And I thought it was my friend Tony playing games on my phone. So when he said it, I was like, Tony, quit playing games on my phone. You are so stupid. He goes, ma'am, this is so-and-so from World Services. So I said, I better go and check the caller ID in the other room. And I went in and said New York. So I was like, oh, I'm sorry. I apologize. Can I help you? And I wasn't even going to the international because they were saying they weren't letting felons over in, Canada. And so I said, well, they're, my sponsor said, you act as if. Then that guy from World Services said, I want you to call this guy at the Canadian consulate, who will then have you call this guy, who will then have you call this guy. And then I had to go and get a transcript of all of my old criminal charges. And I must say to you that that was devastating to me, because when I looked at some of the charges, I didn't even remember being there. It actually said that I got a lot of money. I don't remember that. And I was mad, because I don't remember that money. So I sent that in, and I just knew that they weren't going to let me into Canada. And the day that I was leaving for the international, I packed up the night before, and the day that I was leaving, I got a letter that said, welcome to Canada. And I went over there and I spoke Friday night, and it was a life-changing experience for me. A life-changing experience. And from that point on, I've been able to go in places that I only saw in magazines. And somebody like me that's homeless drunk could travel, could look out my window and see that water out there. Some people live here, you guys are used to it. But for a homeless drunk like me, it's magical. Catherine Ray and I were out there, and we were just looking out there. And I just said, who would have thought that I'd be somewhere like this? I don't know, y'all, life is good. Life is good. Life happens. And even in the midst of life happening, life is good. Because what you told me was I'd be able to stay sober through any storm that comes my way. In the book it says that we will rise above it. Because there's one who has all power. That one is God. I'm happy to be here. I'm going to close with this. Back home, my granny used to hum this song. And I never ever knew the meaning of it until I got to Alcoholics Anonymous, and I heard it one day at the closing of a convention, and I'm going to close with this. Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. See, I once was lost, but now I'm found. I was blind, but